Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name's Katie and this is Catherine the 19th, the channel where we love to talk all things travel and filmmaking. Welcome back to an old series, a new series. We're bringing it back. It is Motivation Mondays. If you've been around this channel for a while, then you'll remember the good old days back in summer 2017 when I made weekly videos all about motivating creators to do their best work, live their best lives. And today I wanted to bring it back, talking about why all creatives are kind of lying to ourselves. Let's get real here. Tell me if you have ever thought these thoughts. I don't really deserve to be paid for this. I would just do it for fun anyway. I'm not really a professional. I'm not as good as those other people that do the same kind of work as me. I'll never have that number of subscribers. I don't make good enough videos for it. All of these things are lies that we tell ourselves because we experience imposter syndrome. It's something important to acknowledge and talk about because I think that there's kind of a lot of complexity to this feeling that so many people, but especially creatives, experience because I think the work that we do is so personal to us. If you are a little bit more detached from your work, I think it's easier to leave those feelings behind or not dwell on them as much. But as someone who is creative or is an artist, the stuff that you produce is so closely tied to you, your personal values, and how you see your own self-worth. I'm not saying that's how it should be or if that's a good or bad thing necessarily, but I do think it's the case for a lot of us that when you produce something that is so close to you because it's your art, you feel like the quality of that art is kind of a reflection of the quality of you. And that's definitely not always the case because there's so much room to learn and to grow and to get better at your craft. And so it's really important that you don't get down on yourself over your perception of the quality of the product that you're creating. But that aside, the main message of this is that we are always our own worst critic because we're always comparing ourselves to other people. That's something that social media makes it very easy to do. And so we're always looking at other people's highlight reels and then looking at our own reality. And I know that's like a really cliche point to make, but I think it's important. It's really easy to think that you're the imposter in the situation when you don't hear the thoughts of somebody else. You're not in someone else's head. From the outside, it looks like they're a professional and know exactly what they're doing and are super skilled and super great, but what you don't see is their own self-doubt and all of those thoughts. Now, normally I'm not a super mindset, blah, blah, blah kind of person because there's some things that the thoughts that we have cannot change. But what I have kind of come to the realization of recently is that these negative, self-doubting thoughts, they aren't productive. They just aren't. They're not useful for us in creating our art, our videos, our designs, whatever it is that you do, these negative thoughts aren't helping you create them. I'm not saying that by having positive thoughts, all of a sudden you're gonna have 1 million subscribers, be super rich and famous, and be, creating the best, videos that you've ever made in your life just because you told yourself once you can do it. But what I am saying is having those positive, self-affirming thoughts, at least it's not a detriment to what you're doing, which I do think the negative self-doubting thoughts are. If you try to apply self-affirming, encouraging thoughts, that can only be good for you. That's gonna help you feel more motivated, feel better about yourself, not be down as often. Even if it doesn't necessarily manifest you $1 million or whatever the heck, it's still gonna be helpful for you being a happier person. And I think that there's something to be said for that. The other thing is if you try to rid yourself of those negative thoughts and have more of a positive outlook, you might actually start seeing more successes than you do right now. It's not necessarily going to make you more successful, but you might start seeing smaller successes in what you were already doing that you just weren't recognizing before because you had a kind of self-doubting negative outlook on it. I'm going to be honest with you, I need this advice more than anybody else. I constantly get down on myself and feel like, what am I doing? I'm just lying to everybody that I am a freelance videographer, but actually da-da-da. These are not helpful thoughts, but they are very, very hard to stop. It's something that you get into the habit of, right? Like any habit that is formed is very hard to break. So if you're used to, for days, months, years on end, telling yourself, I can't really do it, I'm not actually that good at what I'm doing, etc., etc., it's really hard to get out of the pattern of doing that. The only suggestion I can really make is try to start forming new habits. Practice, daily affirmations. I know that maybe sounds really granola and silly and whatever. I think that it is useful if you really do struggle with negative self-talk, doubting, imposter syndrome, all that kind of thing. Just once a day, look in the mirror and maybe give yourself your elevator pitch so that you start to believe it. Say hi, my name's Katie and I'm a freelance videographer. If that's maybe something that you struggle with, believing that you really are doing what you want to do, that might help. Also, I think another important thing is when the doubting, imposter syndrome thoughts start coming up, just try to stop them. It's okay to have them and it's probably never going to stop. I mean, that's kind of what I think. No matter how successful you get, you're still going to have some doubts. So when they come up, just try to acknowledge that they are there, but then let them pass by and don't dwell on it. Because I think that's something that I struggle with, is dwelling on these doubting thoughts and then just spiraling deeper and deeper into them. I really do think that being affirming of yourself and having that confidence and that positive outlook is a muscle that you have to work on building. It's a skill that you have to learn. So don't get down on yourself if you can't do it. It's just, oh gosh, just try to acknowledge when you have negative thoughts and let them pass by, and don't get down on yourself for not being positive enough. That's not gonna help. I hope this little message of motivation and encouragement was useful for you today. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced this, self-doubt or imposter syndrome, so that I hopefully find out I'm not the only one. Let me know if you have any questions, concerns, or struggles surrounding motivation and all of that kind of thing in the comments, and I will respond to some in the next episode of Motivation Monday, as I was doing last summer. And I think it's a really great way for us to talk about kind of the emotional side of being a creative entrepreneur and how we kind of all deal with that. It's a good support group, I think. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. As always, I love you all. I hope you're following your dreams. I hope that you feel motivated, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.